So today we're going to be starting a brand new series where civilization starts over. Now you guys have been requesting this to become a series like crazy. And I mean like crazy because ever since that video came out, constantly, can you make this a series? Well, today we're making it a series. Now I did plan to make this a series originally, but I was going to wait for Alternate Future of the World Season 2 to end before that. But what I want to do with that, with its ending, that's going to be a while from now. So we're starting this series now. So if you guys do enjoy the series and want to see more of it, make sure to show some support by leaving some support. That makes a lot of sense, but you can do that by liking this video, subscribing to the channel if you're new, commenting, all that good stuff. We're aiming for 200,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so everything helps us out. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So civilization is wiped out. There's nothing here anymore, and well, there's nothing here except for a few people, and they are going to be over here in Mesopotamia / Arabia, whatever. I'm going to be putting them over here in this part of Oman. It's a group of people. It's like a tribe, maybe like 50 people ish, and they set up their new civilization along the coast of Oman. Now it takes a long time for civilization to officially be established because you have to go through the process of hunting and gathering, to having enough people to actually have a trading system within your village. Then you have to have a system where the rich can get rich so they can pay more people, and those people can work, and then those people earn money, and with that money they have more people. So people is the answer, and right now they don't have a lot of that. So let's skip ahead a few decades maybe. All right, the population of this little dot is like maybe 10,000, and it is now a fully functioning society. So this is our civilization right here, and slowly but surely they start to spread out and explore around their areas. Now of course they have gone on trips outside of the red space. It's very not fun in this part, and they really want to get up here if they want to have a lot of success. But using the coast to their advantage, they are able to survive. And this is really sandy in here, so the living conditions within this area are not great. So what they're going to want to do is get over here where it's a little bit better. And like I said, the ultimate prize would be to get up here to Mesopotamia, where there is fertile farming area and they don't have to rely on the ocean. So fast forwarding once again, this civilization now reaches all the way up to the UAE and colonizes the area. Well, colonizes, there's really nothing here, so they take the area. And as we can see, the civilization itself is starting to become very large. They once started all the way down here, and well, they're now all the way over here. And they do know about the rest of the Arab coast down here in the Gulf of Aden, but they don't have any interest in really colonizing that, because I told them the land up here is farmable and they want to go there. That's totally what happened. Anyway, Qatar is now red, and the population of this place is now around 1 million. That's a lot of people, and it's getting pretty big. So now fast forwarding even more, there is a lot of stuff going on within this country now. There are full-on governments, there's local governments, there's one ruling government with a king, and this king is not in favor of reaching the Mesopotamia because they think they're good where they're at now. Now, the only issue with that is that they are having food issues. Of course, there's fishing, but it is much easier to just farm and to get your food. That way you have unlimited amount. Well, technically you have unlimited fish, but also farming it's just easier. Okay, just listen to me. It's easier. So that king does not want to go up there, but a majority of the population does want to go up there. And what happens when you have disagreement within a country? Well, a little something called a rebellion. So we have this entire upper part of the country rebelling against the southern part. We have the loyal part and the reformist part. They want an expansive policy where you go get that Mesopotamian land and explore the rest of the world, because they're in Arabia right now. There's not much to do here, and fighting ensues. The population of down here is roughly 800,000 compared to 200,000. So yeah. However, the support for the blue side is enormous. Like 90% of the population total is in support of the blue group and not in support of the king. So really what you have here is not an invasion, but like pockets of this country just kind of collapsing. And eventually the king agrees to let them go up there. But unfortunately for him, these people don't want just that. They want control of the country. So they fight off the king's forces and eventually overthrow said king and establish their own government, which is ruled by a group of people instead of just one person, and we basically have ourselves an aristocracy. All right, so the new government of this place is going to do exactly what they wanted to do, and they are going to go north, and that's exactly what they do. So the voyage continues, and eventually the people of the red country meet up and go into Mesopotamia and instantly it's 10 times better than it is down here. Slowly but surely this area starts to get filled up, and it kind of just follows in between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. I mean, of course it goes beyond that just because they're exploring, you know. There's words of a sea up north, so they're kind of going towards the Caspian. There's words of an ocean over here, so they're going towards the Mediterranean. So really what we're looking at is human curiosity. And eventually, most of the population is living up here. Now, this is, of course, taking place over a couple of decades. I'm going to say 30 years since this place was discovered, and this is what we have now. The capital of this country, aka where the government functions, has been moved from down here all the way up to here, but this city is still like a major city, if not the biggest city, but the capital is here, so cry about it, Arabian Sea people. Yeah, there's really like a clash between the country now, between, you know, like the neo-modern kind of Mesopotamian group and the old Arabian coast group, you know, the two ideologies crashing between farming and fishing. So the ties between these two areas is starting to dwindle, but do know that the main government of this country is up here in Mesopotamia, and most of the population at this point is along this strip right here. So the Persian Gulf is pretty populated, and whereas this place used to be very populated, it no longer is, and then everyone is basically living up here, like I've said. Anyway, let's go ahead and start to fast forward once again. Over the next few years, the red blob country starts to expand even more, and they eventually meet up with the Caspian Sea. And just to bring you onto another slide, this is what the world looks like according to them. Now, this might be confusing, and I'm going to explain it so it isn't confusing. So right here we have the Caspian Sea, right? So as far as they know, it goes up like that. They know there's a coastline right there, but they don't know what's beyond that, so we can color that blue. They know there's a coastline, but they don't know what else is beyond that coastline. They know there's land over here, but they don't know what Iran is. Basically, fog of war. They don't even know what the rest of the Arabian Peninsula looks like. So as far as they know, they could be on an island that looks something like this, if we fill that in. Of course, the red is the actual known country. The white is what they know of exists. And everything else around that, they don't know. So if we take a look here, if you can see the line, I don't know, it might be hard to see. This is what they know exists within that line. They don't know about any of this. Anyway, this country continues to do its expanding, now reaching over to the Mediterranean Sea. And they think they have finally found the biggest body of water they have found so far, other than the Arabian Sea, aka Indian Ocean. So now they really are believing that they're on an island, and with this belief in mind, they start to go down the coastal areas, going into Israel, and eventually meeting up over here in the Sinai Peninsula. Now at this point, well, I'm not really sure what they're thinking. I mean, if I was the head of this country and I wanted to explore more, I would probably just say stick to the coast. So that's what they do. They stick to the coast and eventually enter into what is now Egypt. They also go down from this area and meet the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula, and hence technically explore the entire thing. And at this point, they're kind of figuring out what's happening. They see this coast going down here. So it's probably theorized that this is either like a big lake right here, or it's just like the start of the ocean. But to firmly figure that out and not to second guess themselves, they start to go down the coast of Arabia as well. But unfortunately though, they do have to stop as something internal is happening, and that is the breaking away of the original country area. Essentially what it does is it declares its independence away from the red team on the behalf that, you know, this is like the old sacred part of the country. You are neglecting it. No one lives here. So the people who, or I guess the local rulers, kind of rose up against the central government and said, we're doing our own thing now. And the central government is going to let this slide. Now, the reason for that is that there's really no point in holding on to that area other than like fishing. But now that they've discovered the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea, they don't really need this. And of course, that is where the country started, right down here. But they're not really worried about that. They're more worried about modernizing. So the blue team officially breaks away and it starts its own conquest, which is to also explore the rest of the Arabian Peninsula. At this point, scouts have figured out that they are in fact on a peninsula and that Africa as a continent is something that exists and needs to be explored. So the blue team officially explores the rest of the coastal area of Arabia and even manages to cross over this little canal right here and lands in Africa, or I guess Djibouti. From here, they set up a sort of colony, which for now has the purpose of supplying any expeditions into Africa. Now, while all this exploring is happening, we have another internal thing happening. See, only internal things can happen because there's only two countries that exist at this point. A group of people from the red team decide they want to explore. Basically, the red government said that they are not going north for now because they're more focused on the southern area which they came from. They also have interest of going into Africa or northern Africa. but there is a large sector of the population which wishes to go north because they've noticed at this point that it's colder than it is down there. You know, this is the Arabian desert. It's very freaking hot here. Cold up here. They've noticed, you know, people have explored up to this point. The country hasn't claimed it, but they have explored up to here, and they know that it gets colder, especially in the Caucasus Mountains. So what we have here is something that's pretty interesting. So an interesting thing we have happening here is that a portion of the population is going to move. Now, I'm not sure how many people. This could be like 1,000 people, 2,000 people. It's definitely a lot, but like not like a majority of the population. Because at this point, there's probably like 2 to 3 million people living in the red country, and maybe around 700,000 in the blue. And I know what you might be saying. It is. Why are they so sophisticated if there's millions of people living there? And I know what you might be thinking. Adis, if there's millions of people within this country, why hasn't that country expanded ginormously? And that's because I said so. Haha, you thought I was going to give you a valid reason. Nope. In order for this to, well, see, it's kind of hard to simulate this because when humans first became a thing, it was just tribes, you know, and then those tribes spread across the world without ever establishing like an official civilization. Eventually, though, they did kind of sophisticate, and you had Mesopotamia. But, you know, doing that whole tribal thing is not really what I want to do. What I want to do for this series, I want to have everything kind of blow out from one spot and expand outwards. And to do that, I needed the original country, which at this point we have 2. So yes, there's a lot of people living here, but it's just not expanding, and that's just for the sake of the series. Anyway, those people I was talking about, they're going up north. They do go up north, and they meet the Caucasus Mountains, and a lot of them die. So they decide to not go up there, and instead go over towards Turkey in hopes of finding another way to get around those mountains. They stick to the Turkish coast, going all the way over here to Istanbul. They go past Istanbul and go up north into Bulgaria/Romania, and eventually they decide to settle down over here in Ukraine. They officially establish themselves a nation around the Black Sea, and over the years this nation starts to grow, spreading down into Crimea and taking over that entire peninsula. They go back and start to kind of colonize the areas they once explored, or I guess went through to get to where they are now. And we have ourselves a new nation over here around the Black Sea. It is colder, definitely is colder than down here, and the conditions are way different. You know, there's wood, there's a lot of wood, and now we have 2 different types of civilizations. One that is, you know, used to the desert and adapting to the desert conditions, and one that now has forest upon forest of logs. They also have less oil, but oil has not even been discovered yet. I don't even know why did I say that? I was trying to think of a difference, but I couldn't think of any, so yeah, I'm gonna stop now. Anyway, the red team knows about this now, and they know that the yellow team kind of broke away from it, but they once again don't really care as long as the majority is happy, right? Anyway, they kind of do care, and they're gonna go north and kind of follow the tracks of the yellow team, and they meet up with the Black Sea. Now at this point, naval technology is not too advanced, so going across the Black Sea is plausible, but it's not safe. Whereas, you know, local travel like between this and this, that's fine, but when you get to these open waters, that's where it kind of gets a little dicey. But the red team carries out a new policy of rapid expansion, and they start to rapidly expand up north into Turkey, while also finishing off the coastal area and meeting up with the blue team down here. Now these two are not hostile with each other, they're just kind of, they're like isolated from each other, they don't talk to each other. There's no such thing as a passport, so if you want to go from here to here, you can, but it's just like a different ruling government. Anyway, the red team will now focus on filling in some of these areas, getting more so within the Arabian desert, although not going too far because that thing is hot. Eventually, we have the red team looking something like this. They expand a little bit more south into Arabia, but other than that, they're good. So with this, we have ourselves our first kind of powerhouse country. I don't want to say it's well, it is a superpower in the sense that there's only 3 countries, so it is the only powerful country, and it's the only country with a military. Now I know earlier I was talking about the rebellion, you know, fighting against the government. When I said that, I was more so talking about fighting against those who are like protecting the king. I guess is like guardsmen. It wasn't really like a full-on, you know, sword and shield fight in the streets, because I don't even think they have that technology yet. Anyway, the people in the yellow country are doing things. They're now going around the Sea of Azov and are making themselves a nice Crimean republic, except it's not a republic, it's an aristocracy. Did I mention that all of these countries are ruled by aristocrats? If you don't know what an aristocracy is, then look it up. It's basically ruling by a group of elites. Anyway, new group just dropped. This group, which is going to be a purple dot, is an interesting group. Basically, it's a group of people from all 3 nations who want to explore the world. They don't want to settle a country in one spot. They're gonna have a functioning country that moves around. Basically, a giant group of people with houses on wheels. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. This country is firstly going to be formed down here in Turkey on the Turkish peninsula. Yeah, in Turkey on the Turkish peninsula. That makes sense. This group is going to be formed down here in southern Turkey, and this is going to be their first spot, but they will be moving eventually. But for now, this is like their main bases. This is where they're at for now. The blue team has finally decided to do something. They're moving up the coast of Africa. They see value in taking over the Red Sea area, so the red team can't do that. And this is where we're kind of getting ourselves a rivalry. Now, these governments, once again, they don't really have they have contact with each other, but they just don't talk to each other. But you know, they're kind of getting the sense of one-upping each other. So the blue team starts to establish itself in Africa, whereas the red team is more focused on Turkey and the Caucasian region now. Who would have known that the yellow team, if they had just waited like 10 years, then they would have been able to go up here, but no, you had to rush everything and ruin it. Anyway, we now have ourselves 4 civilizations. In a few years, they now look something like this, with the red team kind of focusing in on Arabia, and the blue team doing the same. Like I said, they're kind of like rivaling with each other now, trying to one-up each other. The yellow team expanded a lot, and the purple team hasn't moved yet, but they're going to. Now, something to note about the red team is that they're not very organized. They have their priorities, which at this point is Arabia, but they're not really focusing in on their local governments, and that is going to lead to some things, like one of them breaking away. So the Iranian government over here, which is its own province / territory, breaks away from the red team, and really the red doesn't even know. And that's once again because they're very organized and they don't really keep in contact with their localities and stuff. So this green thing is able to break away, and it's able to expand before the red team even notices. And by the time the red team moves to take it back, they have already expanded into lands that the red team is unfamiliar with. And well, if you know anything about guerrilla warfare, that's not something that's particularly good. Now, why doesn't the red team just go through there? Well, I mean, they can, but they're not familiar with this land, and you know, maybe the green team is, so that could be a disadvantage for the military. And ultimately, the red team agrees to just give the green area its independence, and yet another country is formed, this time over here in Iran and around the Caspian Sea. And it doesn't take long for the green team to get to work in expanding. They realize and understand that in order to survive in this world, you have to be pretty large, just like the red team is. And if you're not very large, like the blue team, you are going to struggle. Geography is also very important. So they move down and connect up with the sea. And there is a race between the green and red team to take over the remaining areas that are over here in Iran. So now at this point, the world map is looking something like this. Over the next few years, we have the red team moving into the Turkish peninsula, and eventually meeting up with the purple team, which they really didn't know existed. They're kind of like the boomers of the world. They're not caught up with what's happening with the kids, which in this case, there's a lot of kids. Anyway, within that time, the green team did its job expanding, going all the way up north and eventually meeting up with the yellow team, who also expanded and went down south. And now looking at this, we can see that this area is completely filled in with countries. We have the yellow, the green, and the red. If you guys want to give names to these countries, you can. I'm not really sure how that would work, because eventually, you know, there's going to be a lot of countries on this world map, but I'm just not sure how that's going to work just yet. The yellow team expanded into Europe, green team went north, red team is doing its thing. And now for the splitting of Arabia, which this is now officially filled in. I just gotta draw it. The red team has all of that, and the rest of it goes over to the blue team. And now we see our current world map. Cyprus. No one knows that exists. So now taking a look at the known world, we can see that the areas that are known include the Arabian Peninsula, basically all of the Middle East. We can see that they know about Greece, they know about parts of Africa, and they know about a little bit of Central Asia. And other than that, this is what they think the world looks like. According to them, since they didn't really explore all the Mediterranean Sea, they don't know if there's a Cyprus here or not, but since they don't know, there isn't. That makes sense. All right, there we go. So yeah, this is what they think exists right now, and this is what actually exists. So that is going to do it for episode 1 of the What If Civilization Started Over / Disappeared series. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Like I said, we're trying to get the 200,000 total channel subscribers by the end of this year, and I'm gonna need your help because we got 70,000 to go. It's January, so I mean, perfect time to get started, right? If you are new here, once again, all the support is greatly appreciated. If you're not new here, then you know what to do. Brand new year, brand new channel, except it's not. The channel is going to be 8 in March. It's going to be 8 years old. I'm 7. I made this thing when I was 9. I'm going to be an adult soon. This year is crazy. It's going to be crazy, but it's not so far. We're good so far. Yeah, once again, thank you guys for watching. I'm done rambling, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.
And of course, thank you to all the super fans, which include Matthew Newman, Yam Yam, Kali Speaks Plays, Shadow Gamer Z, Deva Edits, Mr. Bonk 7, Hammer Toad 45, Patrick Clauser, Connor the Gamer, Texan Cowboy Cheese, Poland Country Ball, Yakko, Nevada Garbage Trucks, DW Cool Dude, Soviet Ball, and Serminator. Once again, thank you guys.